I'm not doing it for the sake of let me connect with them and maybe they will give me business. No, I just think it's a human thing. It's a nice way to interact with people, to know what's going on with them, right? Because when we don't, it's more like as if we're using other people. So we use them for one thing, we use them to sell them an offer, and now we have a different offer. And what we do, we just feed them with offers and funnels instead of having a relationship first. So relationship first, and then those offers.
Hello and welcome to Clearing the Creative, a YouTubing with Katie channel podcast place. Normally, these podcasts here on this channel are where I help people with a creative block that they have. I help them to move forward through that. But in this episode, Anastasia is the expert here, and she was sharing some very valuable information about marketing and about maintaining relationships with your customers and clients. I've actually had her on a podcast many years ago. She is somebody who has survived having to flee Ukraine from the terrible war going on there for so long now. When we last connected, she shared about the great work that she was doing of enabling women to find connections, find support, find work in a new country as they were struggling to get their footing in the midst of all of this trauma. And in this conversation, we talked about how it was to adjust to not being needed in that way. Something that she said in this conversation that jumped out to me, and I wanted to share it already now, was, there is no such thing as resilience on our own. It is such a powerful thing there. And we talked a lot about recognizing the value that you've invested in yourselves, in the power and necessity of authenticity. This is a conversation about growing in service and growing in being genuine, and I know that you're going to get a lot out of it. I would love it if you would stick around to the end of the conversation, where I will share more about how I can support you in clearing whatever is blocking your creative vision, your path, your purpose, that's keeping you from reaching your people. But now let's jump into the conversation. Welcome, Anastasia, back to my podcast. I'm so happy to connect with you. Could you give us a brief introduction for people who don't remember our conversation from years ago?
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here, and it's not just words, because the last time we met, I didn't even know this conversation would be happening, right? Yeah, the last podcast we had, what was it? Two and a half years ago, I guess. Yeah, 2.5 years ago, and it was right before the start of the war in Ukraine, and I was living in my friend's house in Italy, lost, thinking I've lost my home, I've lost my business, depressed. I actually went through the 9 months of horrible depression, Katie. I didn't tell you about this, but and somehow, but there is a how to this. But fast forward to 2024, and I'm just grateful I can be alive. And not, again, it's not just words. And I'm grateful that we are actually even having this conversation. And I'm grateful that there are things that I really want to share from my heart. Okay.
That's awesome. It's so surprising to me to hear that. I mean, obviously, it was a really dark time, a cause for anybody to feel really lost. But you were so full of power and just like vision of, we're going to help people, we're going to get them sorted. So you took probably a lot of that internal angst and just was like, who can I support in their new transition to wherever people find themselves stuck waiting to go home.
Yeah, it's true. But I've been this year has marked 10 years of my consulting agency, and I've always been a client experience, client strategy consultant. So it's like it's in you. When you teach service, you do it, right? So it's not something that came unnaturally, but I think a trap over there, and I'm sure that you have people listening to this podcast who would share the same thing. as people who love serving others, doesn't matter, clients, friends, doesn't matter. We start off, that's our coping system. That's our way to cope with stress. We start helping others. So by the time those 150 women were already out of the depression, I just started going into it because see why? Because like you're doing stuff and you're not paying attention to yourself because you want to help everybody else. But the downside of this is that you cater to yourself being the last on that list. But I still won't tell you the right way to do it. There's no book that tells you what to do when the war hits, really. So it was just the journey.
When did you feel like, oh, I'm not okay? Like when did you kind of realize that within yourself?
Yeah, I think it was when I got those women settled. So
Mm.
the basic needs were met. And I was left on my own. It was just me and my husband. That was it, in a different country, in a different house. Katie, I still remember like, and mind you, before that, I had a super successful business. My friend and I, we were like, should we celebrate my birthday in Rome or in Paris? So it was like that. And then in an instant, my bank account was closed in Ukraine. So it was just like horrible. I remember going to a supermarket in Italy and choosing between a yogurt for €1 or 1.5. Like I thought I would better save and buy the €1 yogurt. Like it was horrid. So so to answer your question, I think when we help others, and then I was just left on my own and with my husband, and I felt like, okay, so now they don't need my help anymore, or at least not in the same scope. And then it hits you, like you are left with your fears, everything else, and then you almost feel like you're not needed. And for us consultants, being needed is a big deal. Like we need to be needed. Yeah. So yeah, and then it was pretty dark. I was in my bed, not willing to get up. My husband would go to work, and then he would come back and kind of tenderly but force me to get out. I didn't want to at all. So yeah, so it was harsh.
How did you start to crawl out from that space?
Yeah, that's actually a great question because um, from that time I started realizing that there is no such thing as resilience on your own. I don't think we're able to be resilient on our own. Yeah.
Breaking that
Well,
down.
at least for me, everybody has their own journey, and I won't fight with anybody who says a different thing. But um, it was my husband who was not frustrated with me, but who gave me love because, and there were times, Katie, when I was brutal with him, like brutal. So it was him. That's why I don't believe in resilience on your own. And then it's funny, but it was our clients who started saying, Anastasia, can you do this workshop for us? Can you do that workshop? And by the way, I know somebody in London, and why don't you start working with them? And boom, it happened. It's a luxurious dentist clinic in London. And boom, you're having a yearly project with them. But it was all our clients. That's why I'm so keen on the thing I'm teaching now. For me, it's not just keep your clients, not just for the, some kind of retention, although retention is important. But for me, it's more, I think this is a life-saving skill to keep relationships with your existing people, clients as well. But instead of what internet tells you, go and chase new clients all the time. So that's why this whole focus now is very authentic and comes from the inside.
Because it's like, okay, these words are so clinical, clients and retentions and funnels. And it's like, but they're people. They're people first. They're relationships first.
Yeah, I hate the word leads. Like whenever I hear it, I say, please stop. Like you need more leads. You don't need more leads. You need to create better relationships with your existing clients and to focus on them. And B, you're right, it's not leads, it's people. And when we start looking at them as people and not just leads and not, potentially what they can bring us, then it becomes, yeah, the business becomes successful, but it's a step number two, not a step number one in a business.
So what's step number one?
I think step number one is not having a hidden agenda. When you connect with leads in brackets, because I'm sure many people who will listen to this, and you as well, Katie, so many times we would get this message on LinkedIn or on Facebook where somebody would say, "Hello, Katie, I'd love to help you. Are you doing any funnels? Are you doing this?" And even from that message, you could feel that they don't need Katie. They just need anybody. They don't care who. They just need anybody because they just need the money. That's the thing. And so the step number one is not having a hidden agenda. When you go to the networking event, that's another word that I hate. Not having a hidden agenda when you are on this workshop, on this conference, not telling yourself, I need to get, to get acquainted with 50 people today. That's my goal. No, maybe you just need 5, but people who you really connected with. So this is very contra to whatever marketers are saying this age, but I wouldn't be saying it if our retention rate hadn't been 90%. But that's the outcome. That's not the main goal. Does that make sense, Katie?
Yeah. You're seeing people. Oh, my brain is going. The thank goodness for editing.
I know, that's okay. I think the rawer it gets, the better it gets. So,
Yeah.
it's fine.
It's
It's
so
fine.
true. I really like what you said about they don't need me, they just need anybody. The thing that my brain was kind of getting stuck on a bit was the fact that, like, when you're in dire circumstances, it's like when you were saving 50 cents on yogurt, it's really hard to not come at your work with that commission breath, as my friend Dan calls it. Because you
Oh,
feel like, but I
yeah.
need this, I need to support my family.
Yeah, you're so right. And yeah, especially yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But at the same time, you still have something that is only Katie's.
Yeah.
There's just one way that there's just one Katie who can do something, the podcast, just the way Katie does it. So I think the ability to gift it to other people and to say, whoever resonates will come my way. And I don't need to chase what doesn't resonate with me just for the sake of 150. I mean, there are always ways to find money, right? Like really there are. And but maybe the idea here is just to pull back a bit because we don't need every. I love how Aileen Wilder says. She says, yes, you need sales, but you don't need this sale, not
Mm.
necessarily this sale.
Mm.
I love that quote.
That's a good one. So that
Yeah. And also, yeah, go ahead.
it's just that you don't have this sense of desperation and need attached, like you have a faith that it's going to work out.
Yeah. Also, I think it depends on, there's always this, if I were to draw it, I think that some people, their minds go two different roads, two opposite roads. So this one would be serve, like how do I serve my clients or people? And this one would be sell. So they kind of have these opposite roads. But for me, they're not opposite at all. They're interconnected. For me, first, how can I serve? And then if I sell from that, beautiful. If I don't sell from that, it's okay. Does that make sense? Because it's
Yeah.
first you're thinking, how can I serve? So, for example, if somebody told me, Anastasia, do you know anybody who could do whatever Katie is doing? I wouldn't try to sell my stuff because they need Katie's stuff. So I'd say, you know what, this isn't me, and was the best intention to serve you. I'm gonna get you connected with Katie. And some people would think, oh, this is unfair. You're losing the money right there. No, I'm not. Totally not. I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the kind of community we need more of, where we hype each other up and we know each other's skills. So we know, like, I don't do that. Like with editing, I don't know how to do fancy animation stuff.
Yes,
I do
exactly.
this.
Yeah, and then it's fine, and you don't have to, like, really.
Yeah. So those friends that you made, those people that you supported and got them on their feet and got them a place to sleep and a way to make money, they remembered you and you guys all stayed in contact, right?
Yeah, we had a group. We actually had a group, and then one of my friends, one of my very good friends, and now we are. It's funny. I just realized now we are collaborating with her on the master class. But she is a top three rated psychologist in New York City. If I were if she were to charge me, it would have been like. But she said, yeah. But she said, you know what, Anastasia, I want to help you girls, and she would do weekly psychological support for the women as well. Yes, so it was really it was very generous of her. So yes, so those people remembered me, and but again, here's the important thing: I didn't help them for them to remember me. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You don't come into it with a hidden agenda.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, on the internet, there's so much talk now about first you serve and then you sell. It's not a new concept, but there is like this little hint over there that first I'm going to help Katie, I'm going to buy her book, and then if I buy her book, she's going to help me. So that's again a hidden agenda. I'd say do not have it because people have a BS meter in them. so, so they feel with their, I don't know, with their senses when we are not authentic and genuine.
Yeah. It's like I have a friend who is a wonderful person. And she's talked about how there's been times when she reached out to other friends with a need, like, how do you do this thing that you are really succeeding at? And they just would just try to sell to her. Like, aren't we friends? Why are you looking at me
Yeah.
like a client?
Yeah, yeah. To be fair though, Katie, I think there are two parts of this. So, like me, for example, if you were to ask me on the stage, how are you able to do the 90% retention? I will give you some information if we are friends. I mean, if we are friends, I'll just do it everything for free. At the same time, I have to tell you that the more I work with coaches and entrepreneurs and not corporate, I mean, I still have corporate, but that's probably 80% of my job and 20 is coaches, helping coaches, entrepreneurs. I have seen that some coaches are giving, let me just say too much, and it is too much, Katie. When their calendars are totally booked, 24/7 work, they can't relax. Um, all the time they're in their phones. They give tons of useful information in their stories. So, like valuable, super valuable content. Actually, a dear friend of mine, my BFF now, I met my BFF at 40 years old, Katie, but that happens. I know. It's,
Yeah,
I don't
really.
know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know why
It could be
yeah,
my
I have no
end
idea.
too. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Um,
Doesn't matter. So yeah, I was telling about my friend who is a medical lawyer, and she's giving so much valuable content. What I have seen that sometimes when you're giving way too much valuable things, people start unvaluing you. Like they don't. Yes. So for her and for some coaches like that, I am telling them, you know what, you could do something for free, but you don't have to be doing free stuff all the time because then I don't know, but some people are highly cultured and civilized, some are not, and I guess that there is this balance between how much am I willing to share for free so that I'm not devalued. Does that make sense?
oh yeah. Man, there's so many difficult balances in selling yourself and making those contacts. Cause the people that are in my inner circle are people who are they want to make more of those connections. They want to make money, they want to support, and it's so hard to connect to their people and like you're talking about, to stop giving what they do have away because they want to be accessible for people that don't have the budget.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good question. Do you want to be accessible for people who don't have a budget? And it's a question, okay? Because some of the coaches they feel like they're driven by impact. So the more people they impact, they help, the happier they are. So that's also fine. And you could do free stuff all over and charity and everything, right? So that's also fine. I think that the other road is if you are not doing charity, a good question is, do you really want to be shown to to the people who don't have the budget? That's a good question, because then what you're doing, you're just burning yourself out without getting the outcome that you want, you know.
Yeah.
And making connections, I'd say, yeah, I'm sorry if it sounded like you don't have to make connections. I'm all about connections, really. I'm all about connections. And I think it's like be brave and bold and connect with whoever you want to connect. But the whole idea there is don't connect just because you think you can get out something from that person. Connect if you like their stuff. So like if you like, I think the two things have to come together. So like for example, there is a person who has a huge group. I think it's around 70,000 people in that group, coaches and consultants. So I was thinking, it would be great to collaborate with that person, right? But then I started following and reading and asking myself, does it resonate? See? So not just, oh my goodness, the person has 70,000 people, I should connect. No, wait. Just look at the posts, look at the podcast. Does it resonate? If it resonates, then yes, connect and say openly, I'm having this. I'd love to collaborate with you. I think that our stuff complements each other. I mean, that complements whatever you are saying and I'm saying. But yeah, but please don't do it just for the sake of connecting, because then it's yeah. And some people, if you feel, I've also had so many times, Katie, when I thought I liked that person and whatever they would post about themselves. So I would connect and I would say, oh, hey, I do love your stuff. Let's do a quick Zoom call and see how we can help each other. And sometimes people respond in a way that I don't really want to do a Zoom call anymore. I just feel it inside, like very arrogant, very blah, blah. And then I say, I'm so thankful for your attention, but probably we shouldn't be doing this. So it's fine. Yeah.
So, like, not holding things so firmly, but just being willing to really listen to your gut.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but it's good to connect. Also, I always recommend, when people tell me, I don't have clients yet, blah, blah, because it's good to keep your clients when you have your clients, right? But what if you don't? uh, I know. I always say that, and especially people who had some kind of career and then they switched. So, like for example, like me, I was holding a successful executive position, and 10 years ago, I switched to my own thing. So there are many women and men who would do the same. So I always tell them, you know what? You had clients from your before life. So if you're transitioning from one thing to another, do not automatically cross out those clients or those people or those connections.
Right.
Don't cross them out. Don't check them out. Think, okay, so I don't know, Katie. Let's just play with you. For example, Katie was I don't know, you were an intuitive coach before, right? And now you have switched to relationship coach or to business coach. You still have those. If you still have good connections with those clients, you can tell them, hey, and here's another thing that I'm starting, and you will see that if, but only if, you still have good connections with them, they really don't care whatever you're selling. They just love Katie, and they will say, oh yeah, whatever, I want to be with you. Right? So it's not so much about what you're selling, but what kind of connections do you have? And if you're just starting out your business, again, talk to your friends. If you don't have clients, talk to your friends. Say, like you and I did. I said, Katie, do you remember we did a podcast 100 years ago? I am really embarrassed. I'm really embarrassed for not keeping in touch with you. And really, I was, Katie. Like, I have to tell you, yeah.
But I guess I should be embarrassed because I don't keep in good contact with other people. So
yeah, but I think, see, that's the thing. My mind was, because of the war, it was like all over the place, right? But
yeah.
naturally, I would have had you somewhere in my. So I have this thing called connection list. And I have all the people that I've ever worked with in the connection list. And every week I choose 3 to 5 people that I want to connect with so that it doesn't feel that in 2 years, in 3 years, oh my goodness, I completely forgot about Katie. And again, I'm not doing it for the sake of let me connect with them and maybe they will give me business. No, I just think it's a human thing. It's a nice way to interact with people to know what's going on with them, right? Because when we don't, it's more like as if we're using other people. So we use them for one thing, we use them to sell them an offer, and now we have a different offer. And what we do, we just feed them with offers and funnels instead of having a relationship first. So relationship first, and then those offers. Does that make sense? There is a it's a
Yeah.
it's a
Like
it's a
like the
thin
way that
line.
yeah, like the way that I feel about my what I'm offering my with my clearing the creative. It's helping people with creative blocks is we have a podcast conversation or a call, and if it just I really feel it in my gut like we would work well together, then I put the offer out. But if I don't feel that hell yes, then I'm just going to, thank them for a lovely conversation.
I know. Yes. Yes, and then yeah, and that's exactly, this year I have started my first free group. I've never had anything for free, I have to tell you, but only because and this masterclass, I'm doing a masterclass and it's also free, but I have to tell you, Katie, this is the first free masterclass in my life. I think I'm more of a person who is very generous, and if I have to give you, I will just gift it or I will charge. Okay. And but I also think that when we are stepping into something new, and as you know, I've been helping huge international brands in my career, and now coaches and entrepreneurs and consultants are asking me to help. So I understand that I'm stepping into something new, and because of that, I think it makes sense to give the best of yourself for free, right? Just because you want, it makes sense in this time, just because you want to reach more people and to tell them, why keeping your clients is so important, even though I know I'm totally contradicting what the internet is telling you now about a new funnel and a new lead generation and blah, blah, blah. So it makes sense. However, I don't recommend doing a lot of free stuff again, because then for some reason it just, it devaluates.
Yeah. And it's very easy for people, especially when you care so much about others, to not take care of yourself, and then you're in burnout and you're in depression and you're in imposter syndrome.
Yeah, it's a bad loop. It's a bad loop. So, but I think we can, the more times you do it, the more you realize, okay, this I'm going to do for free, and this is going to be 150 of myself, but it's going to be a chunk of what I teach, right? So this chunk I'm going to give 100%. I'm not going to say, I'll just say tell them a sentence and then say, okay, so to know the end of the sentence, you have to buy a thing from me. No. So I'm going to give 150% of that chunk, but then I will openly say, guys, this is just the chunk. And the whole system has 4 chunks, for example, and I just given you one, and for the 3 more, it has to be paid because it's, I've learned it has cost me, I don't know, $70,000 to invest in myself, or something, 50 or 30. Each one of the coaches has invested so much money into themselves. So I think that if we diminish it, then we are kind of sending the message that education is not that important.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you got your 10 years of education and then you're just giving it out for free, you're saying, whatever, right?
Right.
And I think that's the wrong message, because education has to be appreciated.
I'm writing that down. Think about how much you've invested in yourself.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I have to tell you, I think I did it with Aileen Wilder. She actually has free challenges. She teaches how to create a high ticket offer. So she teaches how you create a high ticket offer, and then I teach how you keep your clients and your high ticket clients as well. But Yeah, she actually made us do this exercise. She asked us to write down how many years you have put into your education so that you're able to do what you're doing right now, how many books you've read, and then how much money you have spent. And Katie, I'm telling you, my thing was 70K in 10 years. I'm telling you. So now I'm like, woohoo, I know what I'm charging. Yes. And then also, yeah, you could think this way. In my case, coaches, I was shocked, Katie, when I learned that coaches and consultants are spending from around 2K to 5K per month on their marketing and ads. I was like, hello, what? And me in my business, we have spent around zero. Like we're like Tesla in our niche. We have never ever, because I don't believe in that stuff. I believe in keeping your clients, and then you get referrals, organic referrals, not a, refer me and I'll give you this referral. And then if we are talking about sales, there is no art in selling once. Would you agree? Like if you sell once to one person, there's no art in this. The art is in keeping your clients, and the art is in selling to the same client. That means that they trust you and love you, so that they buy stuff that could help them.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about that, how much you've invested in yourself.
I
Like it can,
know.
it can be really hard to put into words, and it's like there's not any monetary value in the thing that I spent 13 years of my life doing. Like I spent
Mm.
13 years as a traveling actor. I have no certificates. I have no money. Okay,
No, you mean
I'm not
invested in that?
homeless,
Yeah.
but it's just to put a price to that, to the experiences and skills that I learned and all these things. It's interesting to go to think of going back to look through my life and to see my worth.
Yeah, and maybe it's not monetary, maybe it's years of your experience, and then basically what you're doing in 1 hour of your coaching, you're selling, but I don't want to use that word, right? But you are selling the 10 years of your experience, and that's why you charge this or that for 1 hour, because it's not just 1 hour. Is any client of yours could go through the same experience, but it would have taken them 10 years. And you're giving them the shortcuts. You're saying, guys, I've done this, I'm here, right?
Yeah, yeah. I, at the risk of talking too much about myself,
No,
I
that's good. It's a
yeah,
conversation.
that's true. So I taught myself YouTube. I taught myself editing and expressing myself and channeling all this like 172% life that I lived before and putting it into YouTube. And so I get so many ideas for people. It's like, you're spending that much on marketing. I could help you to do that so much cheaper and so much more authentically and more fun too. Like to
Yeah.
help you show your real self that people would want to connect with than just some shiny plastic version of you that is infallible. Like,
Oh yeah. And you know what? So many people, and it's good news. I see that so many coaches are now looking to for the ways to show their voice, and not, as you said, plastic version of whoever, and then it's just the same image that you can put on anyone's face. So it's good that people are looking for that, and I'm sure that you should be having lots and lots of business in that respect, because I think that the worst that can happen is that we create this image of ourselves on social media and blah blah and blah blah, and then when clients interact with us, when they don't see the same picture, this is not just bad and not just deceiving them. I think it even plays a bad role, because you have, especially if you have invested into Facebook ads, then you have paid for them to come and to see that you are not what you are talking about yourself. And when they see it, the disruption is so bad that they just want to leave. I cannot tell you, Katie, the number of times when my friends would tell me, I have left this membership. I have left that club. I have left this. When I ask them why, it's never the price. It's never the lessons, the teachings. It's always this. They do not do what they preach.
Hmm.
So they teach something, but they don't do it themselves. So they teach, how you could be successful in your business and blah, blah. But then when somebody approaches them with the refund request, they just become nuts with that person. And so the person is so confused, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot of that, but the good news is that there are also many coaches who are looking for that the outside picture that would resonate with the inside picture. So what you're doing, I think, is really the best.
Hmm. I would love to hear more of your thoughts on what it means to cultivate relationships and
Yeah,
be authentic with people.
yeah. So there's a whole system to cultivate relationships. You can't just some I'd say the majority of coaches and entrepreneurs and consultants, if you ask them, and I do it all the time, when I ask them, do you think you are already providing the best service to your clients? They always say yes. But then when I step in and do the audit, their client experience audit, it's not even close to that. So here's the question, why is, so for you and I, cultivating relationships might mean a totally different thing than it means for another person. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, we understand it in general that the relationship should be good. Okay. But then there is a whole science to this, by the way. There is a whole science. That's why I got myself into every program possible. Like I've studied all world-class service from the inside, Ritz-Carlton, Disney, Chick-fil-A, who else? Southwest Airlines. So I learned them from the inside because I wanted to know what's the secret, like why are they, and there is a whole science behind that. There is a whole what we call emotional emotions map of your clients. So, and there are stages of your interaction with them. So, for example, here's your first message to your potential client. Then there is let's just say a Zoom call. And after a Zoom call, there is a pre-event stage. Then there is the event stage. Let's just say, you and I are doing a masterclass, right? So there is an event stage. Then there is a post-event stage. And what's interesting, when people, marketeers talk about pre-event, event, and post-event, they talk from the perspective of what can you sell to those people? Like, what else can you sell? Can you sell them the VAP? Can you sell them the offer? Can you sell them this? Now, if you want to cultivate and to support those relationships, because there are two things, starting cultivating and supporting, three different things, starting, cultivating, and supporting. And I guess for me, the supporting is the hardest. And I think it's the hardest for all kinds of coaches because we are so, next thing, next offer, and we have to slow down. So, so marketers would tell you, what can you sell or what can you upsell? From my perspective, the question is, how do you want your client to feel during that stage? How do you want them to feel during that Zoom call? How do you want them to feel during the masterclass? How do you want them to feel post-event after the masterclass? How do you want them to feel 1 month after the masterclass? So when you ask yourself this question, then you are able to build the systems. And I know that not everybody is capable of building the system. So that's what I help with. Like, I help entrepreneurs and coaches to create their unique and signature client experience. Does that make sense? Because so many coaches just copy paste what others are doing. Like even simple things, even creating a Facebook group. Do you have a Facebook group, Katie?
I do, but I'm not active on it.
Yeah, and it's okay because some are active, some are not. But it's funny when you create a Facebook group, there are Facebook group preset rules in there, and they're all the same. Mm-hmm. And if you don't customize those rules, they sound like jail rules. They're like, no doing this, no promoting, no blah blah, no blah blah. So it's like a list of no's. And a question: if you, Katie, are making a Facebook group, you want it to be a Katie signature experience rules, okay? So you want even the rules in your group, you want them to reflect Katie's brand. So the question is, how would Katie write those rules so that they reflect Katie and not everybody else. And that I'm just giving you little example of what it means to create your own signature client experience, because that system includes everything from the first connection with your client, with your potential client, to post event and still connecting with them 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months after the event, and whatever what you're saying, what information you have from them that is enabling you to personalize their experience as well. To personalize on their side and on your side to reflect your brand and not just to sound like anybody else's. And there's a whole art to this. It's like creating your signature perfume. It's not easy, but thanks God there are systems to do it. And when it's done once for good. That's another good idea. You can make it better, but yeah, it's done once for good.
I think that the easiest thing to kind of take from that is to show your personality as much as you can in all aspects of what you're presenting. Like,
yeah, this, and also always asking yourself, how do I want my client to feel?
yeah.
So when I'm sending them this email, how do I want them to feel? Do I want them to feel like, again, Katie, every marketeer out there, digital marketeer, will tell you that you need to send an email a day. I will tell you that, yes, you need to send one email a day if you want to end up in a spam box, in a junk box, right? Because how does a client feel when you send them one email a day? They feel like you want to sell to them, even if it's a valuable content. Yeah, they get bored, they get frustrated. So that's a very good question. Does it reflect my personality, everything I'm doing? But also, how does it feel to them? How does it feel to the client?
I feel like a lot of the training, advice, stuff being pushed is like directed to boomers. And we're probably both millennials, right?
Yeah, yes, we are.
And like we have different mindset about things. We don't want to read emails every day. Like,
yeah, and that's a perfect, it wasn't a question, but that's a perfect thought, Katie, because some people would say, well, you don't know the I don't know, the Gen Z, they love emails every day. Now, a good question is, okay, but then it goes back to your brand. But what's my thing? And sometimes we call it, what's your service idea, or what's your client's idea? What's your service idea? And my service idea, for example, is to impact every person I come in interaction with. So so then I'm asking myself, okay, so that's my service idea. Does it mean I have to send an email a day? No, because this way I won't impact, I will frustrate them. So, and that's a great question, Katie, because every single time you will find a program that will tell you do this or do that. 3 trends in sales, 5 trends in selling to high ticket clients, 6 trends in this. So every time you go through this, what pains me to see that consultants and coaches, they're like torn between all those trends. Anastasia, but I've heard you have to do this. I've heard you have to do that. Question is, what's your service idea? And if your service idea is this or that, then really you take every trend and you ask yourself, is it my signature experience, client experience, or is it not? And if it's not, whatever the trend, you don't care about the trend. And I would actually tell you, don't care about the trends, care about your clients.
Yeah. I had another thought when you were talking about what do you want them to feel, and also how do you want to feel in the creation of this content of
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the question of how do I want them to feel is also a very good question, because it helps you to design their experience. This way you're not just like a shooter, shooting offers, shooting emails, shooting everything into them. This way you're kind of asking yourself, okay, how do I want them to feel when they interact with me? And I suggest have a word like, do you want them to feel warm when they interact with you? Do you want them to feel relieved when they interact with you? Like, what is one word? You don't have to create 300 words because it won't work. What is one word? Okay. So let's just say, Katie, you said, I don't know, Katie, you are all about warmth and friendliness to me. That's how I read you. So let's just say Katie wants every single client, potential, existing, doesn't matter. When she interacts with them, she wants them to feel warm and, I don't know, accepted. That's something that I feel from you.
Mm.
So then when Katie is creating her Facebook group, she looks at the rules, preset rules by Meta Group, and she sees all the no's. She'll be like, oh, no, 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 that's not my thing. I need to write different rules. So Katie would say, for example, in my group, we're all about feeling warm and accepted. That these are my values, and I want everybody to feel the same. That's why blah 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 blah. Does that make sense? So it's a very good question, and a very good question to yourself. Like, what is that one word? Because when you have it, then every single interaction that you have with your client, you kind of measure it up to your own idea of you can call it service idea, service philosophy. Different companies, different businesses call it different ways, but it's good to have that word. It's not just for your brand. Some people say it's just for the brand, for the feeling of the brand. No, it's how do you then design those experiences? How do you design the phone reminder, for example, the phone call reminder? If you want it to feel warm, how does your reminder should look? Does that make sense? So then every single touch point, you can ask yourself, does it feel how I wanted it to be feeling, or it doesn't? And then it's a whole design. It's a whole designing of your client experience.
Yeah. I want to take it back to the beginning when you
Yeah.
shared about the climbing out of the depression. When did you know that you were on the other side of it? And how did that
Beautiful
feel?
question. Beautiful question. And I'll tell you because I knew when it was over. Katie, when I went back to my dreams. So when I went back to my dreams, I realized I was on the other side already, because when you're depressed, when you and before the war, I had a whole list of dreams, a whole list of things I still wanted to do. But when you're depressed, and it doesn't mean that everybody's going through a war. Everybody's going through some kind of a crisis. When you're going through a crisis, that's an interesting thing. You don't dream anymore. Yeah, you don't dream anymore. Your dreams, and somebody would ask you, like, what are you dreaming about? You would be super sarcastic about that. You'd say, to survive tomorrow, something like that. So we stop dreaming when we are in a crisis. So when I remember I was on a flight from somewhere, and I opened my phone and I started writing down more and more dreams. So like more desires, like I want to go to Swiss Alps. I've never been. I want to go to Dolomites. I want to start retreats for business women. I want to do this. So it was just like filling and filling and filling. Then I've realized that I'm back to being myself. And by the way, this year I fulfilled one of the dreams. Yeah, I've had this dream forever. I wanted to go to Florence, Italy to study art and to study Italian language. And I was only able to do it for 2 weeks, so it wasn't like for a year. But this, I can't tell you, I felt as if I was living my dream every minute, like every minute. I was sipping coffee and feeling it differently. So yeah.
That's awesome. So would you say that whole experience has helped you to I guess when you're in a deep dark place, that's the you can't have compassion for people in that deep dark place until you've been there. And then once
Mm.
you've been there and you've seen the view from there, then you can have compassion for other people. Like I was there. Um, do you the reason that I even like to have a podcast is so that people can get compassion for such things that they don't know about, and they can see beyond their perspective. So do you think that seeing that view helps you to see the people not just as clients, but as people who are maybe in their own deep dark hole and need a different perspective to get out?
I definitely got more compassion to people who are going through depression because if you, especially those people who are listening to this podcast, those of you who are overachievers, overachievers do not have much empathy for underachievers.
Mm.
Like if you before the war, before that time, if you, Katie, if you came up to me and you said, "I'm so tired," I probably would have told you something like, "Go sleep and come back." Overachievers, we have this tendency of, doing more and more and more and more. And then when people come to us who are not like us, and then I have people on the team who are not like me, which is good. But at the same time, seriously, like you before I would get frustrated. There is a lady in my team now, she's slow. She does everything perfectly well, but she's slow. Before, like I would have never hired her. Now I'm like, there is a beauty in this. Not everybody has to be, I mean, of course, not everybody has to be the same. Sounds very shallow. But yeah, I think I definitely got more empathy to people who are, who are not changing their circumstances for some reason. Because I was like that. Like, you don't like it, change it. You don't like your job, change it. Like, you don't like that, you don't like your husband, change him. No, seriously, I was like, you're in control, which is good. But it also can be very unempathetic to other people. So definitely this. And then I've also noticed, Katie, that God gives those tests. The bigger the person, the bigger the test. I've seen it everywhere. Like there's a personal thing that I've never shared, by the way, publicly, but I have not been able to get pregnant for 17 years. 17. I'm super successful in many things that I do in my business and life, but this is a complete failure, if you could call it this way. So, yeah, but at the same time, I see that now. I mean, of course, it's much easier to talk about this when you're not in the darkest place anymore. You're so right. But once you look back, kind of realize that now, Katie, when I speak on stages, when I talk about being depressed, nobody believes me. Oh, Anastasia, really? You're so strong. You're so blah blah. You probably have heard this many times as well, especially for strong people. It's just like it's not a compliment. Yeah, but now I can say no, I've been. And what it does to people, it kind of gives them, I might even say, a little excuse to be not that harsh on themselves when they realize they're in a depression. Does that make sense? They kind of say, was in if she was depressed, then if I'm depressed, that's also fine. I don't have to deny it. I do need to seek help, but I don't have to deny it, which, as you know, is much worse than. Yeah.
It's it's not a weakness. There's so many
Yeah.
reasons why it can happen. It can be your brain lacking certain chemicals, it can be disappointment, it can be losing your home and not knowing when you're going back. It's all legitimate.
Yeah, and yes, and I've been doing a lot of analysis on this as well because the and that's why I started doing those retreats for women. It's not any yoga retreats; it's business retreat when we go and we have a culture day, a learning day. Why? Because I've seen that the more successful a woman is, the less friends she has. It is true. When I ask them, those CEOs, they're super successful. But when I ask them one question, do you have a BF? They say, I don't. And they say, I'd love to. They dream of talking to someone at night. They dream of calling a friend. And yes, that's, and I was going to go back to what you said, why you started a podcast. I think, Katie, that we're living in a world right now that does not care about the other person. It cares just about individualism. Think about this. When I'm on London Metro, London subway, so many people are looking at their phones and they don't have headphones, so they watch the movie or stories and it's all very loud. They don't even care. They don't even care. Yeah, if you go to a hotel, you want to relax, people sitting would be laughing very loud, like they don't care. So I think that what you're doing with your podcast, you are helping people to see the other side, to become more empathetic. And then they actually start caring about somebody that they don't know.
And I want to go back to the thing you were talking about, not having friends. Like, there's this mentality of that is an extracurricular, that is a I don't have time for fun, I don't have time for connection. I have this to-do list, and then after that I have no energy for anything else, and then it's just zoning out and doom scrolling or binge watching to fill up the rest of
Yeah.
the hours. And it's like we have to give ourselves permission to take time for fun and just talking to people and letting relationships build.
Yeah. I also believe that you have to surround yourself with people who get you,
Mm.
because imagine a CEO of a huge multinational company, a woman, and these are my friends. Imagine her talking to a mom with two little babies. They don't understand each other, because the successful woman, even if she, I'm not trying to say that the other one isn't successful, but the CEO, yeah, I mean, to me, the other one is even more successful. Was my own personal story now, but yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that it's just that not all friends will understand you. Okay, when you say, I guys, I'd love to come meet for a cocktail, but I really have to finish this PowerPoint, so I cannot today. It's good to be surrounded by, and I do believe in female support. It can be so beautiful. It's good to be surrounded by women who will tell you, you know what, we got you. Yeah, come join us another time. Instead of saying, well, you can't have fun, you can't give yourself a break, la la la. So it's good. That's why, when I do those retreats, and retreats is just a social function of mine. It's not even a business. But I do an interview with every single lady who wants to come join the retreat, because I want to see that they are sharing the same values and the same lifestyles. Because then they say, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this lady for the first time in my life, but she's already my BF. you know? So I guess it's really good to be surrounded by the people who get you, like really get you.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Do you have any last words of encouragement or anything to share before we close?
Yeah, I probably would give this one little thought. My thing is now called keep your clients, right? So it's keep your clients group, keep your clients masterclass, keep your clients whatever. But if you look deeper into this, I would say keep your people, okay? So, and it's an effort to even have this relationship with my BF. I have to make an effort. Like, I have to find time to go have coffee with her. It's an effort. So I would just suggest, or not even suggest, recommend, highly recommend to keep relationships with, keep your people, okay? Because from my own perspective, from my own life, these are, if you keep relationships with your clients, with your people, they will help you in the darkest times of your life. So it's not just for the sake of business success, it's for the sake of survival sometimes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, the way that I end my conversations is I give hugs.
Oh, that's so good. We all need a good hug.
Yes, hugs. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Katie.
Big thanks to Anastasia for spending this time and sharing not just from her passion of her professional skills, but also from the inner journey and the inner struggles that she has gone through. I truly do believe that sharing from our vulnerability is the key to building those connections, and it is the key to changing the world. It unlocks a compassion inside of us. It unlocks a desire for change and growth and support and giving and nurturing. And it's just a powerful, powerful tool. It's not about weakness. It is absolute strength. I would love to hear how this conversation impacted you as well. So if you'd like to share a comment or connect in a different way, you can find out how to do that down below in the description. You can also find out how you can connect with Anastasia as well and be a part of what she is doing in the community that she is growing. So I hope that you will do that if it feels like something that resonates, and I hope that you will stick around here, check out other content. Oh man, I love this. I love having these conversations. I love connecting with these beautiful people that the universe just brings into my life and drops in my lap, and like, here we are. Let's make something beautiful together. And now I would love to share with you how you can connect with me and other projects that I've got going on, and dive a little bit into what clearing the creative means to me. It is a very sacred space of listening and being in tune with what is the thing that's blocking your movement. I love being in that space of really listening with my whole heart to see what ideas I can come up with, what encouragement I can give to help people with their blocks, because I just know that nothing is impossible. There is something that we can do right now, some small thing that is going to give us movement towards the bigger things. And I'd love to help you figure out what that small thing is that you can do. If you got some inspiration from this, I would love to hear that. Because the truth is, we are not alone. There are other people who understand. There are other people in our lives that want to help, that we may have not even thought to ask for help yet. There is a community out there waiting for us all. So wherever you are in your business, in your dream, in the creative thing that you want to do, I would love to support you in that. I'm here to make things doable and actionable. I love to dive into the actual inner struggle and the inner blocks, but I also love to give things that you can do right now. If you would like to have more information about that, check out my website, www.clearingthecreative.com. So you can connect there and learn more about how we can work together. If you would like to check out other content from me, I also have a vlog, and that's on YouTube. And I have another podcast where people share their spiritual transformative stories. And they share about the modalities that they have that they're using to make the world a better place. And I share just other perspectives that we can learn compassion from, that we can broaden our horizons from. So you can find the links to all of those things down below. Yeah, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you, and look out for the next awesome episode. If you would like to see the conversation that I had with Anastasia back in 2021, you can click over here, or you can check out one of my Clearing the Creative conversations over here. Thanks so much. You're awesome.